There was a time when grabbing a quick bite in Britain didn't mean standing in a soulless, neon-lit queue for a generic, engineered corporate burger. For decades, the British High Street was home to a thriving empire of homegrown food chains that felt less like massive corporations and more like an extension of real British life. You could sit down for a legendary Wimpy burger served on an actual ceramic plate, newspaper-wrapped fish and chips from a thriving regional family chain, or walk into a bustling bakery that felt completely unique to your hometown. Today, almost all of these authentic British institutions have been systematically wiped off the map. So how did a series of ruthless corporate decisions completely destroy the perfect British food chain and replace our heritage with hyper-processed global giants? While Wimpy took care of the high street burger, traditional British staples were being scaled up by brilliant regional family operations. Take the fish and chip shop, the undisputed historic king of British takeaway. In the late 20th century, regional chains like Harry Ramsden's took the humble local chippy and turned it into an absolute cultural phenomenon. Harry Ramsden's started as a single wooden hut in West Yorkshire, but by the early 1990s, it had expanded into a highly successful, world-famous chain of massive fish and chip restaurants. The flagship location in Guiseley even held the Guinness World Record for the largest fish and chip shop in the world, serving over 1 million meals a year. And the food quality matched the scale. They didn't use flash-frozen engineered fish blocks imported from halfway across the world. They used fresh, locally sourced cod and haddock, fried in traditional beef dripping, served alongside massive piles of thick-cut British potatoes and mushy peas. It was authentic, honest comfort food that celebrated British heritage on a grand scale. At the same time, local bakeries were uniting under regional banners to offer the ultimate high street grab-and-go lunch. Long before Greggs became a monopolized national mega-chain, the UK was filled with independent regional bakery chains like Baker's Oven, Thurston's and Milligan's. These shops baked their savoury meat pies, pasties, and sausage rolls fresh on the premises every single morning using local ingredients. For millions of working-class Brits, a quick lunch meant handing over a bit of loose change for a hot, flaky pie that was baked just hours earlier by someone living in their own community. It was a perfectly balanced ecosystem. The food was fresh, the profit stayed within the British economy, and the high street maintained its unique, local character. But beneath the surface, a massive corporate storm was gathering. The turning point didn't happen overnight, but it began with a calculated, aggressive strategy from across the Atlantic. While British chains like Wimpy focused on a hospitality-first, sit-down experience, American fast food giants like McDonald's and Burger King arrived with a completely different philosophy: hyper-efficiency and aggressive pricing. When McDonald's began its massive UK expansion throughout the 1980s and 1990s, they brought a business model designed to systematically undercut the local competition. They utilized massive global supply chains to drive the cost of ingredients down to a level that British companies simply couldn't compete with. Wimpy suddenly found itself in a brutal trap. Because they offered table service, real plates, and higher quality ingredients, their overhead costs were significantly higher. They couldn't match the rock-bottom prices of a 69p American hamburger without completely destroying the identity that made them loved in the first place. Faced with declining profit margins, the corporate owners of Wimpy made a fatal, short-sighted decision. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, they began systematically converting hundreds of their prime high street Wimpy locations into Burger King franchises. In a flash, unique British restaurants were wiped out and replaced with carbon-copy global outlets. The remaining Wimpy locations were pushed out of major town centres and into faded coastal holiday towns, effectively ending their reign as a high street superpower. With the burger market firmly conquered, the global corporate giants turned their sights toward the rest of the British diet. The humble independent fish and chip shop was next in the firing line. As McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King flooded every town center in the country, they began aggressively targeting younger generations with massive marketing budgets and toy giveaways. For a family on a tight budget, the math started to shift. A trip to the local chippy for a family of 4 required fresh fish that was subject to increasingly strict fishing quotas, which naturally drove prices up. Meanwhile, the global chains were offering hyper-processed, heavily engineered value meals for a fraction of the cost. Even a giant like Harry Ramsden's couldn't survive the shift in consumer habits and corporate mismanagement. The brand was sold off to massive conglomerate corporations that stripped away the luxury, sit-down restaurant experience in favor of cheap, standardized counter-service outlets in highway service stations and shopping mall food courts. The quality dipped, the magic disappeared, and the local connection was severed entirely. To make matters worse, a ruthless wave of corporate consolidation hit the bakery sector. Mega corporations began buying up beloved regional bakery chains like Baker's Oven and systematically rebranding them or shutting them down entirely. The unique regional recipes, the localized menus, and the charm of town-specific baking were flattened into a single, standardized corporate menu distributed from centralized factories. Losing these iconic British food chains didn't just change what we eat, it permanently changed the fabric of our local communities. The warmth, the real plates, and the local flavors of the 20th century high street have been replaced by a cold, standardized corporate reality. If this deep dive into British food history brought back fond memories of sitting down for a Wimpy burger, grabbing a proper wrapper of Harry Ramsden's chips, or visiting your lost local regional bakery, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment down below and tell me, what was your absolute favorite British food chain that has vanished from the high street? Let's get a massive trip down memory lane started in the comments section, and I'll see you in the very next video.